Well, we've now reached the number of 9 suspect packages. All seem to be very similar and might well have come from the same origin. We don't know at this point who might have been responsible for putting them together and sending them, whether this might have been one individual or several. But all of these packages will be sent to a laboratory in Quantico. That's just an hour away from here, from the U.S. Capitol. That's where they will be examined. And chances are very high, of course, that there will be some proof there somewhere as to who might have been responsible for sending these packages. Now, if you look at who they were addressed to, they were not necessarily all members of the Democratic Party, but they were all critics of the U.S. president and people who had been singled out by Donald Trump himself, either in tweets or in mentions at campaign-style rallies that he has made. It might not be a surprise that you'll have his former opponent, Hillary Clinton, in there, his predecessor, Barack Obama. But when you look a little bit further down the list, well, there are some very clear indications that who these suspect packages were sent to are specifically people who have been criticized by Donald Trump. For example, John Brennan, the former CIA director, who had a package sent to him at CNN that led to the evacuation of their headquarters in New York. John Brennan, by the way, does not work for CNN. He works for the competitor MSNBC. He's not necessarily a member of the Democratic Party, but a very vociferous critic of Donald Trump on Twitter. Also, very indicative, 2 of these suspect packages seem to have been sent to Representative Maxine Waters. She's not a leader of the Democratic Party, but she's been very critical of the U.S. president and has called repeatedly for his impeachment. Robert De Niro, of course, in New York, is another one. Not necessarily a leader of the Democratic Party, but someone who's very critical of the U.S. president. So you see something that all of these people, of course, have in common. An investigation, according to the president, is very much underway. No expense will be spared. He says at this point we don't have any clear conclusions as to who might have been responsible here.
And what more can you tell us about how the White House has been handling all of this?
Well, it's come in 2 stages, essentially. We had what one might call a presidential reaction from the U.S. president. That was yesterday in a statement he made in the East Room of the White House, deploring any political violence or attempts at political violence. Then he had a campaign rally yesterday in Wisconsin, in which he also asked for the country to unite. He spoke about the anger there was in the country. He didn't mention specifically any suspect packages or pipe bombs that might have been sent to some of his biggest critics and to the people he criticizes the most. All of that has changed a little bit this morning with that tweet you just mentioned. It was a tweet, again, very critical of the press and the media. He, of course, has repeatedly called the media the enemy of the people. This time around, he says again, the anger, as he describes it, is in large part due to purposely false and inaccurate reporting from what he calls the mainstream media and the fake news. First of all, there isn't any purposely false reporting. There's been very good reporting, of course, recently on the U.S. president and throughout his presidency. But what he's doing here is very obvious. He's not taking any of the blame. A lot of the rhetoric, of course, here in this country was started by Donald Trump. That is a simple fact. And it has continued during his time as president. He has insulted a lot of his political opponents. He still does so at campaign-style rallies. He just still does so at the White House and does so in presidential tweets. But still, he believes that those who are largely responsible are in fact the media. And remember that one media organization actually had one of those suspect packages sent to them.